We are reading 86, and they built. Aot, and they built ais cannot ye can. Find this in the writings of N. SH again SH 86. And they. Bill says, and they built for Pharaoh and REM, we should. Ask Ram says means that they are beautiful cities while the word, and they built, or cities of Poti imply poverty, and meagerness they also imply danger. We must also understand what Abraham the patriarch asked. He said, how will I know that I will inherit it? What did the Creator reply? It is written. And he said unto Abraham, know for certain that your seed shall be strangers in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. The literal meaning is hard to understand, since the question was that he wanted guarantees for the inheritance. There is no apparent guarantee in the Creator's answer that your seed, your descendants, will be in exile, but it seems that this was sufficient answer for him. Moreover, we see that when Abraham had an argument with the Creator regarding the people of Sodom, had a long argument with the Creator, and he kept saying, perhaps here. However, when the Creator said that your seed will be in exile, he immediately accepted it as a sufficient answer and did not argue a long argument with the Creator. Instead, he accepted it as a guarantee for the inheritance of the land. We must understand this answer, and we must also understand what the Tsar interprets about the verse. Pharaoh brought near, he interprets that he drew them closer to repentance. You see that wicked Pharaoh would want to bring them closer to repentance. To understand all that must understand what our sages said. He says at the end of days the Creator brings the evil inclination and slaughters it before the righteous and before the wicked. The righteous, it seems like a high mountain to the, it seems as a hair, as a thread of a hair's breadth. These cry, and those cry. The righteous cry and say, how could we conquer such a high mountain? Wicked cry and say, how could we not conquer this her bread? This verse is perplexing through and through. If the evil inclination has already been slaughtered, how are there still wicked? Why do the righteous see quite the contrary? They should have been happy. There be two opinions in reality when they have both arrived already. A state of proof. This verse speaks of the end of days, which is certainly a state of truth. So how can there be such a difference in reality between a hair's breadth and a high mountain? Explains this with the words, first stages. Says, in the beginning the evil inclination seems like a spider web. The end, it seems like sea tropes, as was said, well unto them who draw iniquity with cords of vanity and sin, as though with a cardrow. There is a great rule. We must know our work which was given to us to be based on faith above reason, not because we are unworthy of a high degree. Hence this was given to us so as to take it all in a vessel of faith. This appears to us as ignominy and worthlessness, and we are anxious for the time we can rid ourselves of this burden called faith. About is a great, very important degree. The exaltedness is immeasurable. The reason is it appears to us as some is because of the will to receive in us. We must discern our head and a goof body in the will to receive. The is called knowing, the goof is called receiving. Because of this we consider everything but is against knowing as low and beastly. We can interpret, but Abraham the patriarch asked of the Creator, how will I know that I will inherit it, or how will they be able to accept the burden of it? Is against reason. Who can go against reason? How will they come to be granted the light of faith, since the entire hest, the perfection, depends on this alone? P answered him about this, no for certain, etc. they will be in. This means that he has prepared a shell, which is the evil inclination, an evil person. Pharaoh, king of Egypt. The letters of the word Pharaoh are like the letters of the word O, back of the neck, as they wrote the gate of intentions for Passover. That Pharaoh is considered the back of the neck The narrow the sea he would suck out the abundance that comes to the lower ones. With his question, who is the Lord, that I should obey his voice? This very question there, immediately in the hands of the shells. As the mice says regarding what is written, do not turn to idol gods, that with the appeal alone meaning, with the very question they already breached the prohibition of turning to, then the evil a nation wishes to suck the abundance from the K, holiness. What does it do in order to suck abundance from the writing tells us, and Pharaoh brought near, the interprets that he brought them near to repentance. He asks, how can we say that Pharaoh brought them close to repentance if the conduct of the shells is to turn one away from the Creator? You must understand this by what is written in the transgression is concealed within you, like the serpent that strikes and hides its head inside body. Again, transgression is concealed within you, the serpent that strikes and hides its head inside its body. So in the letter commentary, since this transgression is concealed, the force of the serpent that strikes the people of the world and brings death to the world is still in all its power and cannot be revoked. It is like a serpent that bites a person and immediately puts its head in its body, and then it is impossible to kill it. There is yet another saying in that the serpent bows its head and strikes with its tail. This means that sometimes it lets one take upon himself the burden of faith, which is above reason, which is the bowing of the head. It strikes with its tail. The tail can be interpreted as the end its head, so as to ultimately receive no order to receive. In other words, it first gave one permission to take himself faith, so that afterward it would take everything into its own authority. The knows that there is no way to receive abundance except through God. This is the meaning of Pharaoh bringing them near. Is explained that he deliberately brought Israel closer to repentance so as to afterward take everything from them into his own authority. This is why they wrote Pharaoh out all the abundance that came down to the lower ones, sucked from the back of the neck, and from their throat, which is considered the head of the body. Mean it would take everything in its vessel of reception. The meaning of, and they built 8 cities of poverty, store cities, meaning that this was for Israel. In other words, all of their work during their exile was taken into Pharaoh's custody. Is remained poor means poor also. Interpret from the word sack, danger, meaning that they were in great danger of remaining in that state for the rest of their lives. However, Pharaoh, the work of Israel was, and meaning very beautiful cities. The meaning would be Aris cannot from Israel, and Ra. This is because all the work of Israel fell into the shells, and they saw no blessing in their work. They prevailed in their work in faith and bestow, as they did see fertility. In the moment they fell into knowing and receiving, they fell into the hands of the shell of Pharaoh. Finally they came to a determined resolution that the work must be in faith above reason. In however, they saw that they were able to come out of Pharaoh's control by their own force. This is why it is written, and the children of Israel sighed from their work, since they feared that they might stay in exile forever. Their outcry rose up to God, and they rewarded with exiting the exile in Egypt. It turns out that before they saw their situation, that they are in the hands of their shells, they were hurting and afraid that they would remain there forever. They had no need for the Creator help from the vessels of reception. They do not feel the shortcoming and detriment caused by that they is all that obstructs them from adhering to the Creator. This is because otherwise one has a high regard for the work in the form of knowledge and reception, whereas faith is considered loneliness. Choose knowledge and reception, since this is what men's exterior mind necess. This is why they were given the anal feel that they do not progress in nearing the Creator, and all their work sinks in the shell of Egypt. Finally they saw that they had no other choice but to take upon themselves the work of Linus, which is faith above reason for bestow, otherwise they feel that they are in the domain of the other side. Turns out that the faith they took upon themselves was because they saw that otherwise they would have no counsel, hence they agreed to the work of loneliness. This is called conditional work, that they accepted this work so they would not fall into the net of the shells. This is why they had taken upon themselves this work. However, if the reason is revoked, love for this work is reward as well. This means that if the evil inclination is cancelled, there is nothing that brings them thoughts of not turning to idol gods. Then the love for the work in loneliness is cancelled. Now we can understand what our sages wrote in the beginning. The evil inclination seems like a spider web, in the end it seems like card drops. We know that there is the discernment of mistaken and deliberate. The will to receive that is imprinted in men is considered coerced, since one cannot revoke it, and is therefore not considered a sin, but it is considered an iniquity, as it is written, woe unto them who draw iniquity with cords of vanity. Therefore it cannot be rejected or hated, since one does not feel that it will be a sin. However, afterward it becomes a sin, as it was where the shells were later created of. This will receive, so they have a complete structure, as in God has made one opposite the other. This is where the evil inclination, meaning everything, comes from this har bread, since it has already been revealed that it is a sin. Then everyone knows to guard themselves from this her bread, and then they understand that there is no other choice if they want to enter except to resolve to work in loneliness, meaning faith and bestow, otherwise they see that they are under the control of the shell of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Follows that the benefit in the exile was that they feel that the will to receive sin. This is the reason to decide that there is no other canal but to try to acquire vessel. For this is the meaning of the Creator's answer to Abraham the patriarch about his question, his request for guarantees for the inheritance of their land. Well, for certain that your descendants, etc., them, etc., through the exile they would come to discover that the her's bread is a sin, and then they would accept the real work in order to detach themselves from the sin. This is the meaning of what's said, that in the future death shall be swallowed up forever, meaning the Creator will slaughter the evil inclination, and all that will be left of it is but a hair's breadth, is not even felt as a sin. The hair breadth is something that cannot be seen with the eye. Some wicked and righteous do remain, and they all want to adhere to him. The wicked who have not yet corrected their hair spread, the evil inclination still existed, and then they could still feel that it is a sin. Now, however, when there is no evil inclination, all that is left is but a her bread, so they have no reason to make them turn their vessels of reception into vessels of bestow, since the her bread cannot be fail. Nevertheless, they cannot adhere to him because there is disparity of form, and he and I cannot dwell in the same abode. Their correction is to be dust under the feet of the righteous. This means that since the evil inclination has been cancelled, the righteous have no reason to have to go with faith about reason, since they have no reason who would make them. Therefore, when they see that the wicked were left with the her bread, did not WCK the her bread while there was evil inclination, it was the time when it should be corrected, since then the will to receive was revealed as a sin, whereas now it is not apparent as a sin, but like a hair's bread. If there is no reason, there is no place to correct, yet there is also no place for adhesion, since the disparity of form remains, and their entire correction is that the righteous walk on them. This means that they now see that there is no fear from the network of the shell, since the evil inclination has already been slaughtered. Why do they now have to work in faith about reason now, when they see that the wicked cannot reach Adian? Now they have no reason meaning an even. A nation that will be distinguished as a sin they remain. Outside sins there is still disparity. A form when the righteous see this they understand how good it was for them that they had a reason to work and bestow. They thought that they were engaging in bestow only because of the evil inclination they see that the sin they saw back then was for their own good. In other words, this is the true work. It is not because of fear of falling into the hands of the shells that they do this work. The evidence of this is that they see that the wicked who did not correct the hairs bred now they have no reason to they remain outside and cannot rectification with the Creator. Follows that the righteous receive the power to go from strength to strength through the wicked by the wicked becoming dust under the feet of their righteous walk on the discernments that remain as wicked retrospect. This work specifically is important. It is not because of coercion, as it seemed to them before while they had the evil inclination. Now they see that even without the evil inclination it is worthwhile to work in bestow and faith. Regarding this cry and those cry, it is known that is smallness or infancy, which is the state of there is a difference between and shine from the past, meaning they take sustenance and light from what they experienced in the past of shine in the present by uniting the coupling is the meaning of the righteous crying and saying, how could we conquer such a high mountain? Now they see that what was prior to the slaughtering of the evening Asian, that its dominion was indeed great, as it is written, God has made one opposite their other. They received great mercy from the Creator who gave them the power to win the war against the inclination, and now they rejoice in the miracle that they had been in the past. This is called the wicked cry, because they have no way to adhere to Him, even though now they see it is only a hairbreadth. Now there is no evil inclination, they have no reason to turn the vessels of reception to bestow. They can only see that they are outside. This is why they cry. However, the correction is in becoming dust under the feet of the righteous. In other words, writers seeing that although now there is no evil inclination, wicked still cannot attain. They say about they thought that they had to follow the path of Baal only because of the evil inclination. See that this is the true vessel, means that even if there were no evil inclination, this path is still true, that the path of far is a wonderful path. Now we can understand why wicked remain after the slaughtering of the evil inclination, so that they will become dust under the feet of the righteous. No wicked would remain. There would not be anyone to show this great thing, that the path of faith, not because of conditional love, that is, it is not because of the evil inclination that we should follow the path of truth. This is unconditional love, since now there is no longer any evil inclination, and still only through faith can we obtain with the Creator. I heard on another occasion the reason we need faith specifically is the pride within us, or then it is difficult for us to accept faith. This means that although faith is an exalted and wonderful degree which the lower one cannot attain and understand, its preciousness and sublimity is only because of our pride, the will to receive. We imagine it as low. For this reason we were given the evil person. And I heard on another occasion, we see that when we do not want to accept faith, we fall from our state, rise and fall each time until we resolve no for choice, but to set faith permanently. This was in order to receive Phi, and this is, and they built a for Israel, for Pharaoh to their. Okay, thank you. Any all right, or are there more questions? No good. So there is this interesting phenomenon list. That's how I feel it. All of the order of our path becomes completely confused. It becomes unclear before Passover. In Passover, the entire study of Passover seemingly renews other definitions. What does it mean? What does it mean? Preparation. What does it mean? Elami. What does it mean? Spiritual fear. What does it mean? Love. The entire path suddenly becomes unclear. Yes, it always happens in life if a person changes his attitude to things that are important in life. From here it's clear to us that the reason appears why the Creator created in the opposite form, and we have to unpack it in a direct way and see how it aligns with our path. Ken. Yes, Shum, good morning. Shalom appears that Pharaoh builds within us the correct approach to faith. And he writes here that Pharaoh, he says, that he would suck all the abundance, and indeed he leaves us with poor cities which are the thoughts of in order to receive. And he also says that mot are dangerous cities, meaning there's the danger that is thought about the will to receive, which simply would remain in us. So in that state we will always develop above reason, and why Pharaoh throws us to the shell to the descents, and then we have a need for us to rise from that to develop rient and about that. It really seems to me that the part of the insights that we get from this complex article, and I want to can you say if indeed this is how we should see these things. Okay too. Yes, how can we understand what is this state of crying? He says they reached the state where the evil inclination is slaughtered already, then these cry and those cry, but it's actually a great state of great mirth of joy. Yes, so why crying? They said how could we cope with this and that, meaning how those things that were arranged for us, how we were so easily tricked in the work. Maybe it's about the state of the end of correction, and I don't understand anything about that, but in the work we always say that we need to look at our state and the state that we want to reach, yes, and always aspire to equal to, compare between them and say what is it that we need in order to reach the next state. That's the work pretty much. Well, it's not more or less, but for lack of a better choice, 'cause who knows what's the right, correct final state. So what does it mean to look at the state we went through to be in a state of a crying of the righteous or the wicked? What is this discernment? Well, you will tell me the question. Again, read from the text. Okay, it's in Hebrew page 594. He says the matter of these cry and those cry. It is known that crying means which is of there is a difference between and shine from the past, meaning they take sustenance and light from what they experience in the past, whereas the mo of go shine in a present by uniting the z. This is the meaning of the right is crying and saying how could we conquer such a high mountain? Now they see what was prior to the slaughtering of de-inclination, that its knowing was indeed great as it is written, God has made one opposite the other, and they receive great mercy from the Creator who gave them the power to win the war against the inclination, and now they rejoice in the miracle they had then, meaning in the past. This is called so it's crying, but it's still rejoicing. So why is it called crying? Weeping. Yes, rejection is a sorry, crying is that state, each and every state in itself, that they were very afraid of remaining in the rule of the evil inclination. That's it. Now they're already gone through this state, now they're happy that they went through it. Yes, so the way they relate to the past is crying, but the way they relate to the present is joy, or what's written, those cry and those cry. Yes, why he says these cry, the righteous cry, because they say how could we conquer such a high mountain, and the wicked cry about its only hair's breadth, how come we couldn't get through it. Yes, basically both of them have a reason to cry. No, and again, what is the conclusion of Egypt? We always say memory of the exodus from Egypt. Here he says that a person from all the disturbances, the obstructions that he had to cope with, the evil inclination, this is what caused him to be in faith. Later, he says that this should not be the reason for being in faith. The reason is that the Creator took us out of Egypt. What this engraves in the heart of the person from that moment of the Exodus, it's not only because of the obstructions he needs to be in faith, but rather he has another approach, another reason to adhere to the Creator. How does a sea remain? Ideas add with the Creator, even unrelated to the obstructions, even if there are no disturbances. What is the conclusion of Egypt? That following it there is a Dan. Even without disturbances, I mean, how does it work? It's not a matter of whether there are disturbances or not. Very close, I'm not so focused. Can I Read the excerpt. Maybe say, here yes in it. Found it there would be no one to reveal this great thing that the path of faith is not because of conditional love, that it is not because of the evil inclination that we should follow the path of faith, but this is unconditional, since now there is no longer any evil inclination, and still only through faith can we attain. Yes, meaning there is a certain scrutiny that after we get out of Egypt, all of the past when we were fighting with evil inclination, and I want to take everything upon myself even though I have the opportunity to get rid of it, let's say, after a congress or very strong connection when we were doing very strong inner work, and now we suddenly come out to the air of the world. We have more work that we can. A pressure really hard on this matter, on this point of adhesion, without having some external event, only the Creator, that he will become revealed and take us out of Egypt. There's nothing else for us to do. Yes, G to ask about the need to get out of Egypt, he writes. Here, page 592, the people of Israel cried aside from work because they were afraid that they might stay in exile forever. Then their outcry rose up to God, and they were rewarded with coming out from Egypt. I want to ask, I'm going to read another excerpt and then ask about that. It turns out that before they saw the state that they were in the hands of the shells, and they were hurting and afraid that they would remain there forever, they had no need for the Creator's help from the vessel of reception if they do not feel the damage and detriment caused by that. But this is all that obstructs them from adhering to the Creator. This is because otherwise one has a higher regard for the work in the form of knowledge and reception. Faith is considered loneliness. They PR knowledge and reception. This is what men's exterior mind necessitates. So I'd like to ask about that. He says they do not go out of AG before they feel the damage and the fear there in the will to receive. Where does this of fear suddenly come from? They see within the world to receive their situation, and it becomes clear to them that which holds them, but it gives them a feeling satisfaction. This fear appear, or this feeling, that's the whole problem. It gives them fulfillment, meaning until a person is afraid or feels that his nature actually harms him, he will never receive the need to get out of his nature. Yes, so the question is, from where does this feeling come? From the feeling that my nature is actually detrimental, it's bad for me. When do he start being afraid? We need to be afraid. Where does that come from? He sees how opposite that is to the true final state. But he also writes here, the correct final state, the state of faith, is considered as loneliness. A person doesn't regard it. This is the problem I'm asking about it. How do we resolve it? How do we get of you soar it when the light of faith comes and fills everything, and then a person can rise by the power, by the light of faith, and then there's no problem. Yes, light of faith. How do we? What makes it come? What makes it appear suddenly inside the person? That light of faith that suddenly shows him, gives him a feeling that he's afraid of being in a will to receive. It builds a need in him to get out, to ask, to cry out. This light of faith, what makes it to suddenly appear in the heart of the person? Okay, is everyone thinking or not? If you got an answer, the light of faith will give us the answer. With our mind we cannot understand it. Yes, maybe according to the question that would also be the answer. The fact that I ask for the quality of Bao with no reason, I have no reason for it. No taste does that draw the light of faith. Possibly it's not in the direction of their solution. Yes, discovers that besides the will to receive there is nothing in him. The person truly choose to get out of his nature, or it like a movie that is simply projected to us and we just watch it. This is a question, but let's say that yes, that he sees that his evil inclination in him is to his own detriment. Then what? Okay, yes, does the L of faith influence the heart? The heart begins to feel the light. But faith here, he says, in the very last paragraph of their article, it says that each and every time We rise and fall until we resolve that. We have no other counsel, no other choice, but to set faith permanently. I thought that faith actually is against reason, but here he says that the faith has to be set inside our heart. This influence the heart. It fills the heart. Do I mean the heart should want to love? To what is the difference? The light of faith that enters the heart gives the heart the ability to extract these feelings out of it. Okay, I think I understand. That's it on that side, not at all. Yes, days ago I met the son of on the street. He a 4-year-old child, maybe 5 old, and we were talking and talking about fear. I told him I'm afraid forgetting about my friends. So he looked at me and said, what do you mean everybody's afraid of that? I was thinking, how can 4-year-old who is with us, who grew up in this way, he's a part of us. Who does he have this knowledge, this feeling that everyone is afraid of? That realized that what influences one is really the environment. It's only the friends, those around him. If that's all they tell him all day long, this is what he feels, that everyone is afraid of losing their connection with the friends. Can yes, okay, yes, you're the only one. Adults, I mean, we need to feel fear. I know what it's like to feel fear. I think each one of us knows what does it mean to be afraid, and I read here that I need to be afraid because I'm in the well to receive. I learn 1 day or 2 more days. I never felt such a fear. I want to understand, how do I reach this feeling of fear? Because if I won't have the fear that I'm made the will to receive, I will never truly sigh and cry out to get out of it. So where does this feeling come? This fear from the Creator, but what would make him evoke such fear within me, so that I have fear of exactly what that I'm in the nature of in order to receive, and this puts me at risk. I mean danger. I read about it, I can understand it, but this feeling of fear, of anxiety that actually eventually causes me to pray. I can't figure out what will really bring it. You know what, I can even feel bad because I am in this nature. But here I mean, he writes here black over white that a person should be afraid. He writes it more than once or twice here. So what is this fear? Maybe I'm not even depicting this fear correctly. No, but fear is something that person knows, except here there's a unique matter of what is one afraid of. So how do you reach that kind of fear? This is what I'm asking. How do I reach the fear that I will not be able to bestow? A person can tell himself stories, then you will happen in your next life. Eventually you'll be, so you know this need. Where does it come from, man? Interesting. So I can even calm myself down with that. If it's not now, then in the next life cycle. Yeah, even that. Hey, yes. So what do we do? Know you pray to the Creator if with this kind of question, and what do we expect he will give us? A need, a desire to be still. Otherwise feedback. If I was able to tell myself in some other way, it will be bad for you. Otherwise I can tell I can say many things, but what it's about is really that the heart I want to bestow. Fine, I also want to bestow the day after also. Maybe I'll even truly have such a request to bestow because the friends will suddenly awaken it. Yes, this anxiety. I mean, it should be the way I'm impressed is there has to be a demand. I need to be in a way that I can't, even for not even 1 second I will be without this demand. But where is this demand come from? I understand it comes from the Creator, the upper light, the light of faith. Clearly it's a different force, but what will make it finally come? Well, does anyone have an answer? Yes, as always the answer is in a form of a question. Is that okay? How to replace vessels, to replace the with all that Pharaoh will become doctor, that we add faith instead of for that, but instead of that we want be to first enter, we want faith above reason. And how to replace one type of vessels with another? Well, to replace it's by the prayer. What's happening with it? It's all around these 3 letters, or it doesn't matter, and it's just confusing the fact that we have to these upon those discernments. That is true. It is true. Well, Tari to Turkey to when a person is in a state where he is afraid to fall to the cot How can one transcend his corporeal will? To receive. Again, when a person is in a state where he is afraid to fall to the kaput, yes, how can he transcend that state above his corporeal desire? Let's say so that this is the question. So how do we answer? How can we answer it? Yes, in myself. If I look into myself, I'm immersed in the will to receive. Certainly everything will go to the test is towards the friends also. Maybe it's a partial answer to Gun. I agree and continue. We read some parable of Ban this week about the room. When you open the light, turn light, then you see the room is dirty. It's an unpleasant state when you feel that the room is dirty, but on the other hand, the light that enters shows truth. So the question is, who opens that window to the person so that he so that some light enters, and so he understands what's going on, and then you understand that it's the friends and the books and the rob that open this life to you. It also puts you in an unpleasant way, and you can't just go to sleep and not think of anything, but you have to think about your connection to the path and to the friends so that light will enter the room. Otherwise he'll just die without nothing. There's this subtlety towards faith, because any faith can go into reason, and then the work disappears. We say things for many years, and a person can agree with it, and if he agrees with it, it's good on the one hand. On the other hand, he kind of steals his work. How to maintain this subtlety of choosing the path of faith and not try to put it into our intellect. I understand the question to pray only to pray. Give an example. I feel like I learned a lot from the friend's little things I said in a meal with next to a friend. He threw a question. He said that Rob said that a meal is more important than a lesson. I also heard this 1,000 times, and I know that the lesson is the most important thing in my life for many years. It's salvation, and that just goes into autopilot. I understand. I don't. I'm happy. I'm sad. There's a lesson. The meal. Okay, one said it, and it's customary, but it doesn't really sit within me that there's in a meal something more than being with the writings of the Kabbalist, and so on. It's a meal, so I still hold that as say faith. But later, yesterday, when he talked about it, it started to be felt like there is something special in a meal that can't be in a, but I'm afraid that if I put it into my autopilot, then there's no work anymore. Okay, now I understand it. Great. Now what will I get out of it? I lost the necessity to hold something higher that my mind doesn't grasp and agree with it that way when it's above me. So there's something that's not lot here for me. Okay, well, he has a good state. Again, yes, continuing the direction I had was someone who committed a serious crime, but he gained a lot from it and is as happy. So sometimes he thinks about all the money that he has and how he did it and how he succeeded, and all of a sudden he discovers that he left something open, not locked, and there's some evidence that can enable him to be caught. So he made a little mistake, and then he became anxious that maybe someday someone will ask who did this, and evidence can bring his so the light has to show each of us personally our crimes, meaning that what we do is as bad as evil, and that's the state we should yearn for, and as long as we're not, there our nature kind of covers it. Our natural defense, our inclination to defend ourselves covers it from us. So what to pray for that light of faith that will really come and show us our nature, because without that, without feeling a person doesn't feel himself as a criminal, then he also won't have the requests, because there's no fear. All right, what else do we have here to see? 9. No, yes, thank you. I'm going time. I want to read what I want to tell you, because I can't just remember it in the text. It says it's not just because of the will to receive that we should have faith that could be conditioned, that would be conditional love. So I think that to get faith above reason, we have to, it comes like we have to have a CLE for it, and then a filling CLE would be like knowing that we need the help of the Creator in any situation, in anything. We need it like the air that we breathe. Once we get that sense, then the Creator will give us the feeling and That's how we get faith above reason. That's what I'm learning. I didn't understand what two stages do we have. Here, get faith above reason, we have to have a CLE for it, and the CLE is knowing that we need the help of the Creator for anything we need it, like the air that we breathe. Once we get to that state N, the Creator can give us the feeling for that lap, and that becomes faith above reason. That's how I'm feeling now. Yes, I understand. On your side, this is how it should be. Okay. Yes, have said too. Yes, hello Rob, hello everyone, good morning. I think the question is we always try to look for it in the article. J's question, we bring this fear and prayer, and that the Creator will help us understand what Rush writes to us what his father told, and it says the evil or the wicked cry because now they have no way to cling to him, even though now they see it as a hair's breadth, but because there's no evil inclination, they have no reason to transform the vessels to vessels of bestow, but we can see them prying on there from the outside. I think that's a good reason you can interpret it within a single person and also within the whole society. And then he continues, the correction is in that meaning of the righteous become dust under the feet of the righteous. They see that even though there's no evil inclination, now the wicked cannot achieve adhesion, so they say that only because of the reason of the evil incarnation they need to go in bestow. However, they see that this is the true vessel, meaning even though there is no evil inclination, this too is a path of truth. Okay, so how do the wicked nevertheless reach adhesion? They don't reach adhesion. That's what I understand him to be saying, and maybe I misunderstand. The end of correction is for everyone. What the end of correction isn't for everyone, it is for everyone. There won't be evil inclination, but there's the wicked in the righteous. The question is, are you those that are being stepped on, or you're in adhesion with him? There will be, everything will be revealed. There's no more choice. We know the concealment is for us, and once everything corrected, one who didn't correct during the concealment will not be able to correct it in the revelation. Then this is a good reason for fear. All right, women. PT 38. Answer G's question. He asked where we can get that demand from to change our nature. So I thought that you only get anything from the incorporation of the friends in the 10, the group that you hear them and you want to incorporate and take their desires. That's one thing. The other, me it from their commitment that you get from the friends they demand, and we get it. Okay, thank you. I also identify with G's question, and I won't ask about prayer. Supposedly, if prayer doesn't come from the heart, it's not beneficial. If I don't have true fear, how can we reach a true prayer, or can an artificial prayer bring me to it? See you, I sometimes remember in my mind, but how to reach a true need, a true fear? We need to act, we need to play. Well, I think that if we don't see ourselves as a small world and the Creator is shining around us, showing all the evil in the world, so we're rejecting him. We're saying it's not for me, it's someone else, until we don't see all the evil in the world as our own, so we won't feel this fear. This far is around us. The Creator shines and shows us the dirt. We're just saying it's not a dirt. Until we don't take this dirt upon us, we won't feel this fear. Okay, what do we have in on the second part of the lesson? We have the freedom article, so we'll sing a song first. Me. La. Laugher. La. La la. The. We are reading from the writings of Be the Freedom article, or in the subtitle, the environment as a factor. Protection means that we can always add in the matter of choosing our environment, which are the friends, books, teachers, and so on. It is like a person who inherited a few stalks of wheat from his father. From this small amount he can grow many dozens of stalks through his choice of their environment for his source, which is fertile soil that contains all the necessary minerals and raw materials that nourish the wheat. abundantly, there's also the matter of the work of improving the environmental conditions to fit the needs of the plant and the growth. The wise will do well to choose the best conditions and will succeed. The fool will take from whatever comes before him and thus turn the sow into a curse rather than a blessing. To each all the praise and spirit depends on the choice of the environment in which to sow the wheat once it has been sown in the selected location. The wheat's absolute shape is determined according to the measure that the environment is capable of providing. So is the case with our topic, for it is true that the desire has no freedom, rather it is operated by the above four factors, and one is compelled to think and examine as they suggest, denied of any strength to criticize or change as the wheat that has been sown in its environment. Yes. However, there is freedom for the will to initially choose such an environment, such books and such guides that impart upon him good concepts. If one does not do this, but is willing to enter any environment that appears before him and read any book that falls into to his hands, is bound to fall into a bad environment or waste his time on worthless books which are abundant and more accessible. He will be forced into foul concepts that make him sin and condemn. He will certainly be punished, not because of his evil thoughts or deeds which he has no choice, but because he did not choose to be in a good environment, for in this there is definitely a choice. He who strives to continually choose a better environment is worthy of praise and reward, but here too it is not because of his good thoughts or deeds which come to him without his choice, but because of his effort to acquire a good environment which bring him these good thoughts and actions. I said, make for yourself a love and buy for yourself a friend. Questions HWR that everything depends on the environment you chose. Everyone is listening to the question of the friend, and someone will answer it. He says that the need is to acquire a good environment to sow his seeds, but he says that you also have to make that specific place better to better the conditions. Not only plant it, but also make your conditions better. Then he says that what actually depends on the wheat to be to come out good was the environment you chose. So what does it mean to make the conditions better? That a person tries to make the ground better to give it everything it needs. That's not important. That's what I'm asking, 'cause in the end he said choose the environment and sit. Now a result should come where he said that everything depends on the environment that he sowed his wheat. Yes, but before he said that you have to choose and make the conditions better of their place. So what does the result depend on? All the things that can influence the way a person that recognizes that he's in a bad environment. Can he make that environment better and work on it, or does he need to let it go and start fresh somewhere to choose a new environment? And no, where he is, he needs to do this. So again, what does the growth of the wheat, what he chooses in the initial environment or in his investment? Why initial environment? He says first to choose an environment, the place that will be, but he doesn't choose it in no matter that he's moving from place to place. So what does it mean to choose a good environment? That he learns how he can benefit the ground and all those things I'm trying to understand. So where my choices in the environment is that I have to make my place better, I have to work in it. So what's the choice I had to begin with? That I chose this environment and not that one. What you chose to begin with, no one knows. You don't know how you came to us. That doesn't depend on a person. That doesn't depend on a person, so only on how he improves the place he's in. Yes, okay, next N. Subtitle: The necessity to choose a good environment. Now you can understand the words of who replied to a person who offered him to live in his town, and he would give him millions of gold coins for it. Even if you give me all the gold and silver and jewels in the world, I will live only in the place of these. Words seem inconceivable to our simple mind, for how could he relinquish millions of gold coins for such a small thing as living in a place where there are no disciples of, while he himself was a great sage who needed to learn from no one. Indeed, a mystery as we have seen it is a simple thing and should be observed by each and every one of us, although everyone has his own source. The forces are revealed openly only through the environment one is in. This is similar to the wheat sown in bare ground, whose forces become apparent only through its environment, which is the soil, rain, and sunlight. Correctly assumed, if he were to leave the good environment he had chosen and fall into a harmful environment in a city where there is no toe, not only would his former concepts be compromised, all the other forces hidden in his source, which he had not yet revealed in action, would remain concealed. This is because they would not be subject to the right environment that would be able to evade them, as we have clarified above. Only in the matter of the choice of the environment is man's reign over himself measured, and for this he should receive reward or for punishment. Therefore one must not wonder that a sage such chose the good and declined the bad, and was not tempted by material or corporal things, as he deduces there. When one dies, one does not take with him silver, gold, or jewels, but only and good deeds. And so our sages weren't make for yourself a love and buy for yourself a friend. And there's also choice of books, as we have mentioned, for only in this is one rebuked or praised in his choice of the environment. Once he's chosen the environment, he is at its hands as clay in the hands of the potter. What he writes that there's the forces that are in a source that he didn't discover yet. How can a person in the environment continue to develop forces that weren't revealed yet? So he doesn't develop. How can he develop what has not been discovered? He said that you have to choose a better environment. What does it mean, choose a better environment? All according to the period, according to the revelation, according to the environment, according to the demand. That's it. So there were different times, and we too are in special times. And after us there will also be who knows what times, every period and its. So now with the 10, what does it mean? That I'm choosing a better environment. Every time brings all the forces in the source to be revealed and developed to what we learn and understand in our times, in our environment, with the inner conditions with which we were born and we developed from. This is how we need to continue what's reading, what's written in the articles, or towards as much as we know, to reveal as much as the Creator gives us in this generation to be revealed before us. Understand, but what is a better environment? 'Cause I'm working in the environment in my 10 relative to the environment that you're in. For it to be a better environment, what is better? Closer to its correction. How can I measure this? What did you want to have that you want to measure? If I'm working in the environment, what's the measurement to see that it's better? I know that it's good because here we're studying, sitting with you in the lesson that I can understand. But how do I see the environment plus one? How do I make it even better? What you see before you, in what way would you improve, benefit the personal qualities that are in your environment? That's my work with the environment. Yes, you must make sure that your environment will rise upwards due to your efforts, and that's how it should be with each and every one of us. So my tick qualities that I'm with my sauce. What he says with this, I see how to develop the environment in my eyes, that it'll be better. Yes, according to what you learned, and there's no way I can make a mistake. Don't worry, there's a protector above us. We're guarded, but how else can we? How did you think that we could advance if not that way? What else can we do? Is there a difference between me developing according to what my eyes see, or the light that reforms brings us to a new observation, a new degree? He does that preceding your prayer. So what does it mean that the right work with the right intention, or it's not even important only to invest for forces as much as you with your friends connect and invest forces the Creator arranges you in a way that you will be sorted in a way that you'll do it correctly. That's it. Their questions, please, I'd be happy to hear. But Creator put a person's hand on the good fortune, so what? Freedom, the desire have to choose a good environment to begin with. A person can't choose nothing, he is born and develops according to the records in him. So what choice in a good environment? The choice of a good environment is where a person constantly checks his possibilities to enter a better environment where he will be able to develop more meaning. It answers his prayers. That is planted in the ground, was planted with no choice and develops with no choice. So what are we talking about? What do you choose for weed? For example, there is the choosing of prayer. What does that mean? Put into the ground and is watered. Yes, and the rest of the things are already dependent on him. The extent in which he develops by the environment influencing him after he is planted in the ground. What else can he do there? He develops. So what depends on that development? That development, nothing has depend on him. But after he comes to, well, I'm not talking about weed cells. About us then, that a person comes to a certain age, he starts to a desire, begins to awaken in us for some more exalted matters after in the environment in the what choosing a prayer, the choice out of a more correct connection in strengthening the friends together, raising everyone to a higher degree of mutual bestow meaning to the extent in which they bestow to one another and help one another. It's consider that they want to rise even more, and this way through their connection there bestow their influence, they raise themselves better. Environment is a more connected environment to the Creator, also between them and also to the Creator. Thank you. Okay. Yes, if a person chooses the environment, so there's always a question how the environment is affecting him and how he is affected, like whither and then with. He writes in the end, bam, here, that after he chose the environment, he is in their hands as clay in the hands of their potter. Sounds that already makes him passive, just like on their hands, and as if he's relieved from doing anything. Yes. So where is man's part on his behalf towards the environment? The environment affects him 100%. Now how is he affected by them? It's influenced by the environment, and then after that raises a request, and according to his request to the extent in which he invests from these forces in this, the Creator changes his ways, his conditions. Society makes him raise that request, the society and the conditions with which he was born and developed, etc. Yes, okay, I can't wait till you think. What think? We read in the first part about the righteous and wicked. So if I'm in a state of wicked, no, how can I choose an environment or want to choose an environment of righteous? You see, you're all wicked and you all came here without any initial good. Nevertheless, you came to an environment that wants to develop you in the right direction and a good direction. This choice isn't ours. We were brought here, okay, but the Creator chose you, and after that if I fall, I'm still in a state of wicked. So how from this can I make the right choice? How to want to become righteous? You get to repentance, you'll see. Everyone reaches, but that's not a question. It seems there's two aspects. That one he's not even writing about. One is where you put yourself compared to society in any smallest thing. If you drive somewhere, you can either listen to a lesson or something else. So this is something passive, where you put yourself in every moment. Now there's also something active, and what am I contributing to society? And not one, I'm passive. There's an angel. Upon each and every one there's an angel. That I received from Russia. Perfect. Complete explanation. There's an angel. And by this angel a person advances it when he deserves to be a little freer. It happens, and a little fear it's done. And this is like a child who grows by their parents. What do they give him to do? Nothing. He gradually, the more and more he's around, he becomes freer and freer until he grows and rises up. I want to ask about the active part. You can be in a 10, and the fact that you're in a 10 you live through them. Let's say today you're on duty, so you have a responsibility on the 10 today, so that's not another choice that You take another thing upon yourself. It seems that the more responsibility you take, even though you can say everything's from above, because the more responsibility you take, you feel the matter more you're more in. It's so he's saying to put yourself like wheat in the ground. That's it. That's passive, where is active, to be more contributing. Our active choice is daily choosing more beneficial means to advance towards the purpose of creation. So that is the main work. Okay, well, let's say we chose to be in the lesson like Remy said, so we're already here. So what now once we're here? What am I contributing to the morning lesson? So it seems that that is what we need to engage in all the time, correct? Now we're already in the lesson now. We're already accustomed, etc. Now it's beyond that same thing with dissemination. The 10, where am I contributing? Not only yes, okay. Yes, remember the example you gave with a child that you play before him, make him laugh, and once he laughs it makes you happy too. It seems that this is how is in the environment, that even though you're the seed and they help you grow, beautish recommended that we come in act before the society, no matter what state you're in, to make them happier, and that will affect you too. It seems that that is our work in increasing the environment. That way it comes back to us, and you also affect your own wheat as we, yes, no, maybe to add that in the eyes of the W to receive, I come to the environment to get forces and grow, but in the eyes of the world to be still, I come to contribute to the friend, to be the salt and the water, and the attempt to be still in the prayers is to give forces to the friends. Okay, yes, can the environment help a person really do a soul searching? That a person can constantly, yes, do that calculation. How you talked in the first part, that a person needs to be afraid that he's going to miss out on his incarnation. How can a society press on him to understand that he got an opportunity and he won't miss it out? He got the best condition and he might miss out on it. He'll pray, but how does the environment help put pressure on him for that? The environment gives him an example and he feels as if he's behind, he's keeping up. Right, so he raises a prayer connection with the friends, and this is how he advances, and all these calculations that here you only take from this world too, and good deeds. And how can you awaken that in the environment? For the environment can do everything to a person. It can influence him from one end to the other. How on the 10 can you awaken it to that example? Example, yes, last. To save time, I'm going to ask in English. So, when one arrives in a new environment, their success in that environment seems according to developing new habits, the habits of the environment, then they'll absorb more quickly and they contribute more quickly. But I see many habits of great friends around me that seem out of reach, so I want like how to install new habits. In that case, a person usually adheres to the environment and goes with them as much as possible in serving them. I want to adhere more every day. Please go even deeper and deeper into their society, and that way they will gradually accept you more and you will feel them more and more, and that's how you'll change. Yes, I'm still filled with corruptions from my previous life, so what know of from my past life? I'm still full of corruption, but I want in place of that, can I fill my day with nonsense? I want to fill my day like these friends fill their days. But it seems like okay, so you adhere to a new society, a good society, and then this way you'll try. Just patience, I'll eventually absorb, so jump up, you think it'll help. You have no choice. Yeah, jump around, we can only work under the framework that the Creator gave us. Okay, clear, good, come on here, I'm even afraid to start this. Good morning, I have 2 questions if possible. First question, want to ask about the greatness of the society and the friends. First, the person needs to have the intention at I'm in the group in order to receive the force of the Creator, in order to incorporate feel a element before the friends. So if I have such a feeling, is it important who here whose they were my friends, how their desires, their vessels I need to incorporate and then receive the force of the Creator. Yes, or it's important who my friend is and who's here and whose. There is much a society that I value will be greater, stronger, more influencing me, so I'll advance quicker. Next, we read, the thoughts of a person are not under his control, and know that the intellect is the servant of their heart. Yes. Yes, so how can we receive the influence of the society in the correct way so that we will receive good thoughts? Because the whole action begins from the heart. So, how to do that? What did he mean? How to get good thoughts from the society? I adhere to the friends I value them, I appreciate them, I love them, so then I get good thoughts from them. Good thoughts, and that's how. Maybe the question was not clear. In the society, there's a certain impact on us, the influence on us. Yes, so that's for sure. And how do we receive the influence of the environment in the correct way so that we will be able to of all good feelings and then also good thoughts? Is that clear? Good feelings, then good thoughts. That's clear again, and that's the influence of the light. Yes. Why? Musk Macau. Person needs to choose the correct environment in order to grow his point in the heart, in order to come to a certain arot with their Creator. Why? Correct woman have one woman Hebrew. One good morning. I have a question. If I choose a good environment, that means the good environment according to BAM is my 10 that I choose each time, or is there other environments? No, that's your 10. It's always think about the 10. No matter what environment I'm in, even if it's hostile, meaning if the external environment is hostile, if I think about the 10, it all passes. Yes, woman Turkey. Swam Turkey. Foreign speech for spe. Fuss about it. And participate together in something that really helps. No, I don't know what else to say. You said that each has an angel. What depends on a person for the angel to advance him depends on a person is what he wants. What does he want the angel to lead him through? How to guard him? How to help him in advance? It all depends on a person in a person's prayer towards the Creator. No, it's possible. Thank you. And what does it depend? Which angel each person receives? That's what a person wants of his life, where he wants to advance towards. How does he want to be brought to a certain goal? It all depends on a person. He chooses his angels. Clear. Okay, 1. You said that we're choosing the environment. We create mutual ball between us first through external actions. But what does it mean that we enter into inner ball of the environment? What is that system of forces that we're choosing? There's a lot of people, and according to the state and according to the connection we have with them, that's how they affect us. It's clear that I have friends, and they influence me, and they obligate me to come to the lesson, to study the material, to awaken one. Another one stands behind the friends, behind the external environment. What system of forces operate upon me? They're the Creator himself, and no one else. Was said in the article that during the passing of a person, there's nothing way you can bring to a person, not gold or precious stones, but only to our good deeds. That expression is kind of like something refreshing on one hand. On the other hand, it's hard for a person to think about the day of his departure, but it gives great importance in the choice of the environment, the investment in the group. So how to hold on to the in focus to that point, that during a time of one's death, nothing will help him except for doing good deeds. I know where the time of death isn't the time of death, it's a new book to new birth. That's how we have to understand this, the death itself, that it's clear that what escorts you is what you enter that new life with. Free. Hello, teacher, I wanted to ask what remains in the desire to receive when we enter a new environment. What is the role of the development of the angel? Angel is a force just like gravity, the winds, all kinds of forces. They are called angels or messengers. There's nothing about them that we can change. If we rewarded the Creator, we'll exchange them just like in our life. More sun, wind, and so on. That's how it changes. Okay, so where are we? New. We're under the heading the mind's control over the body. Oh, that's long. When are we here till 5:30 a.m. is 5:30. Read the mind's control over the body. Some external contemporary sages, after contemplating the above matter and seeing how man's mind is but a fruit that grows out of the events of life, concluded that the mind has no control whatsoever over the body, rather only life's event imprinted in the physical tendons of their brain they control and activate. Man's mind is like a mirror, reflecting the shapes before it. Although the mirror is the carrier of these shapes, it cannot activate or move the shape reflected in it. So is the mind, although life's events, in all their manners of cause and effect, are seen and recognized by the mind is nonetheless utterly incapable of controlling the body to bring it into motion, meaning to bring it closer to the good or push it away from the bad. This is because the spiritual and the physical are completely remote from one another, and there is no intermediary tool between them to enable the spiritual mind to activate and operate the corporal body, as has been discussed at length. Where they are smart, there they disrupt. Man's imagination uses the mind just as the microscope serves the eyes. Without the microscope we would not see anything harmful due to its smallness, but once we see the harmful being through the microscope, we distance ourselves from the noxu element. Thus it is the microscope that brings man to distance himself from the harm, and not the sense, for the sense did not detect the harm doer. To that extent the mind fully controls man's body to push it away from bad and pull it toward the good. Thus in all the places where the attribute of the body fails recognize the beneficial or the detrimental, it needs only the mind's knowledge. Furthermore, since man knows his mind, which is a true conclusion from life's experiences, he can therefore receive knowledge and understanding from a trusted person and take it as law. Although his life's events have not yet revealed these concepts to him, it is like a person who asks the advice of a doctor and obeys him even though he understands nothing. With his own mind one uses the mind of others no less than one uses one's own. As we have clarified above, there are two ways for Providence to make certain that man achieves the goal, which are the path of suffering and the path of Torah. All the clarity in the path of T stems from this. These clear conceptions that were revealed and recognized after a long chain of events in the lives of the prophets and the men of God, there comes a man who fully utilizes them and benefits from them, though these concepts were events of his own life. Thus you see that one is exempted from all the ordeals one must experience. He can develop that clear mind by himself. Thus one saves both time and pain. It can be compared to a sick man who does not wish to obey the doctor's orders before he understands by himself how that advice would cure him, therefore begins to study medicine by himself. He could die of his illness before he learns medicine. So is the path of suffering compared to the path of Torah. One who does not believe the concept that the Torah and prophecy advise him to accept without self-understanding must come to these concepts by himself by following the chain of cause and effect from life's. These are experiences that greatly and can develop the sense of recognition of evil in them. We have seen without one's choice, but because of one's efforts to acquire a good environment which leads to these thoughts and actions. Questions. I don't think there are many questions here. The language is very easy and nice and clear, and we understand this. Yet in the example of the doctor, there's another known phenomenon, which is that until a person feels that he's sick, he doesn't go to their doctor. Even if he doesn't feel good, he still rejects it until he really feels like he has to go, and according to his mind, yeah, we see so. How enough he knows the doctor can help him, and he even knows that it's worthwhile for him to go earlier, for then he will suffer less. So, what do you want to say? A person is a foolish creature doesn't learn so much from anything we see, their sages and all that. But the majority them are rejecting. So first of all, we have to give everybody medicine against stupidity, yes, meaning for them to feel that they're sick. Yeah, he has to bring this to those who are the people of the Lord and to use them like the advice of the doctor, but even the advice of the doctor he doesn't use immediately unless he really feels that he's sick and suffering. So moreover, the advice of the people of their Lord, it's much more than taking the simple advice of the doctor, which is to take a pill. Here you have to love the friends to change his nature and things that are completely far into one's spirit. So what, how can a person receive the advice of the people of the Lord that are aware now he's suffering and recognizes the evil? That's that he just to that extent that he just must have that medicine, that the remedy. We need to educate him in such a way to bestow to affect his relatives. The speaking on the media on such phenomena, you have to educate a person. Nobody wants to go to the doctor or people that are afraid of getting a shot. So what's about that? I'm afraid I can't go. That's it. What can you do? Well, what to do? The question is it even possible to receive the advice without recognition of evil? No, with no recognition of evil you remain in the same nature. You need recognition of evil of your nature, and that'll help you get rid of what you have and instead of that acquire good qualities. So how is that possible? The recognition of evil develops. Well, the question is, can you develop recognition of evil in the way of education? What's education? Education that you tell a person that as much as bad to be stingy or coward or what not, and also somehow you let him feel those things in a better way, meaning gradually by advancing from a negative place to a positive place, the environment by games, through by help. And how can a person be impressed by that? He will be impressed that he's getting rid of alien things that are bad for him and acquire good things. It seems like his environment is what's causing bad things, and that his current qualities are that are bad that are actually the good ones that he is filled with. It's not to that extent. If a person is sure that what he's in now is a good thing and he gives him pleasures from here and onward too, so you can't approach him. It's only under the condition that you see that he's suffering in somewhat suffering at least. Okay, so he's somewhat suffering, but not to the sufficient extent that he should go to the doctor and get a medicine that already depends on an environment if he in something. So the environment can convince him that the suffering comes from a certain reason and not from a different reason, and how to advance in order to correct it. That's already something we use. Yes. Receive importance from the environment. Is that considered the impact of the intellect upon the body? So yesterday in the meal it was a preparation for the morning and theme, and this morning PT32 gave this huge preparation, and it brought forth such a that in a way that the friends should not fall from the prayer and from us having to hold on to one another. There's that prayer of 5 minutes that we want to be together. Gratitude for that moment where you understand how everything depends on you. How do we hold on to that now we're exiting the lesson? We repeat it a few times a week until it becomes a second nature for the preparation of the 10 on duty. We here I didn't hear about it. Okay. Good. Say bye to everyone. And now in our broadcast schedule for today, Saturday. Now we're going to go down to the meal for the shamat. Morning at 11:45 a.m. preparation for the lesson, and at 12 the noon lesson, and we'll conclude with a song for I'm F for G O E Tspi right 12 for the says this sh la